Hey, how's it going? This is Professor Krspo, and this is Music Production 101. What's up, guys? Welcome to week 4. Today we're going to talk about making your 8-bar loop into a full song. So we're going to be going over arrangement. We'll get into effects maybe. And we'll even talk about different BPMs and genres and stuff like that. So let's get to it. All right, guys. So week 4, we're talking about how to make this little 8-bar loop into a full-fledged track. So let's just review what we got so far. All right, we're making music. Okay, so the first thing we got to think about when we're like trying to make this into like this loop into a track is like, what are some of the elements of the loop? So we have the vocals, we have this weird little analog kind of ear candy piece. We have this synth, we have a sub bass, and then we have drums. So normally for an intro, I would say like take your most kind of ethereal and your most kind of like maybe any chords or keys you have. We don't really have any chords or keys on this track per se. So maybe it's a good idea that's where we start. Just trying to add some kind of chords in. But actually even before we do that, let's take all this. So you double click this top bar here and you can select everything. I'm just going to cut it and we're just going to move it over to here where it says drop. So if you look on the top here, I have some like location markers kind of already set up when I just opened my session. We're going to move them around. These aren't going to stay here, but this is just an idea. So usually usually in a dance song, the drop happens, like the full drop will happen around the 1 minute mark, sometimes a little later. So we're going to see, maybe it'll happen earlier than this, but for now we'll just put it right here just to give us some space to work with. So next up, I think the drums are a pretty big part of this song. So let's do this. We'll just duplicate. So all I'm doing is selecting and duplicating drums basically right now. I'm going to take them out for this part. So this will be like our little, we'll introduce something here in the intro, like the chords or something. And then we'll have the kick drum come in. So again, I'm just kind of going through, I'm just deleting stuff essentially. Just make it easier. I'm just hitting Command J, and that's just going to make this, if you notice, there's like a bunch of little tracks here. Like every time I would try to select it, there's all these little ones. So I'm just hitting Command J to make it big, one big track. And then that way I can just go in and take all the snares out. Just like that. Okay, but we need like some chords. I'm losing track of myself here. So let's do that. Command T to create the MIDI track. Command Shift T, sorry. And then we're going to go up to sounds. We'll hit pad. And then we just got to find something. Let's do this. Okay. And then I'm just going to record some chords. So I'm going to use the click track so I can hear what's going on as far as the timing goes. I don't want to be off time. And then, yeah, got my keyboard set up. Don't know exactly what I'm going to play yet, but we're just going to wing it. Okay. I think something got messed up there because this isn't right. So this chord's fine. Or maybe not. Maybe that chord's not fine either. Okay, so I changed the color of this because I like it. I like my pads being purple, so I just changed the color. And then I fixed the chords a little bit. So now, after I fixed them, we got something like this. So we're just kind of setting the stage kind of for this first part. And if you notice, I kind of work in increments of 8. So the first 8, just the chords. And then we have just the kick drum for 8. And then the next 8, you're going to hear, bring the hats in. So it's really simple. I mean, I basically just recorded some chords. And then, I mean, without the chords, if I mute the chords, basically all I did was like I did before. I just took the snare out of the drum for this part for 8 bars, and then I bring the snare back, add the hi-hat, and then bring in the sub bass. You see, it's very just like very simple. You can even see it here. It's like almost like a staircase. I just keep adding every 8. I just keep adding something new. And that's kind of a good method to go by, is like think 8 bar increments are good. So you want to kind of keep changing stuff after 8. And like if you add something, sometimes it's good to take something away too, or if you add 2 things, take 2 things away. But right now we're just trying to build the track up. So we're just adding stuff right now. But you'll see later on, to kind of add variation, we'll start taking stuff away too. But so right now we just have the pad, which it just fills in the space kind of in the intro with the drum. And then when the bass comes in, so if you're not familiar with like chords and stuff, you can look them up online. That's probably a really good way to do it. You can look up like different progressions, popular chord progressions, and it'll tell you like the Roman numerals of it, and then you can just adapt that to whatever key. So I'm using the key of F minor right now, and I'm basing that off of this bass that I did earlier. See, F, 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 G, G sharp. That's all F minor. So that's another thing. You kind of need to know scales a little bit, not like super in depth. And again, I just usually look it up if I'm not sure. There's a bunch of really good free stuff online. There's also this app called Tonally that I like to use a lot on my phone. So there's a bunch of different resources for writing chords and figuring them out. I don't know that many chords, so I just kind of played the ones I knew, and they happen to work for this. So that's good. And they happen to be in that key. I'm pretty familiar with that key. But yeah, just as far as chords go, just look some up, and then you can just kind of draw them in. Or if you have a MIDI keyboard, you can play them like I did. Or if you're a better pianist than me, then you can just go for it and have fun with it. But if something you're struggling with, don't struggle with it. Just look them up online. There's you can't copyright a chord progression, so you can literally copy a chord progression from your favorite song, and they can't do anything about that. So, and I definitely recommend doing that. Go for it. Okay, so we got our intro with the pad. We got the drums building up, the hi-hat. So you're probably like, okay, how do we get to the drop section from this like very chill, kind of ethereal, whatever? So see, I'm just pulling everything out right here except for the pad. We built it all up, pulling it out. So this is almost like a break section. I'm going to call this the break. And the drums come back in. And this is going to be our build-up section here. So you might notice I did some weird stuff to the chords there at the end. It's super simple what I did. I'm just trying to add basically tension, essentially. So like there's a couple different ways to do that, but one of the ways to add tension is to change the pitch of something. And I'm not changing a lot. I'm not using the main knob here. I'm using the fine knob. So it's like a subtle change, but it kind of adds like a little bit of it adds some tension. And if you notice too, I'm not doing the chord progression anymore on this part. I'm just playing that same F minor chord over and over again. So that's another thing, like repetition and subtly changing the pitch are two things that really add tension. You know, usually when you hear something repeated over and over again, then you're ready for you're like, okay, what's going to happen after this? You're kind of like anticipating that. And then when you hear the pitch change slightly like that, it kind of adds a level of like uncomfort. Like, oh man, something's coming. Another way to kind of even build off of that, if this isn't enough, if you're like, oh man, this is cool. You know, I like how you like notice the fine knob going up. You can see it in the automation. It's probably a better view. I'm just increasing the pitch. And then I guess I'm also adding this LFO. I didn't even realize I was doing that. But I started adding this LFO too. So that's the LFO amount. But here's the pitch. It's the same basically for the pitch. Except I don't know why it's doing all this stuff. I didn't sign up for that. So let's delete that. See, this is why it's good to check. I didn't even know this was going on. My whole pad was being affected like that. Now I can't even change it to 1. It won't let me. It's either 1 or -1. I want it to be 0. So a thing you can do is if you hold command and control, yeah. I think it lets you go by 1, or you can edit the value. There we go. There's a way to do it by 1, or by like it'll literally go one number at a time. Okay. So where was I? Okay, yeah. So another way that you can add kind of tension and stuff is to add like effects like noise. So this is a sample that I found on Splice. So that's another site. This is you got to pay some money for this. I think it's like $8 a month. But I really like it because you can kind of make your own collections of stuff you like, which is a way to kind of build your sound. And then also when you look stuff up, you can like look stuff up in like certain keys and certain BPMs and genres even. So it's definitely got some uses. I found this on there. I'll include this stuff or something similar in you guys' course material, so you don't need to have Splice to do it, but this kind of stuff helps. And you see it's like so low in the mix, -38, but watch. You hear that? It doesn't have to be high. It's just like a little bit. That's what... So yeah, so that's using some like little effects there to kind of add a little bit of movement. And then another thing you can do, and this is big kind of in EDM. I don't really see this in many other genres, but they use impacts a lot. So we can use one at the beginning to kind of set the tone, like. This kind of creates that atmosphere. And then, but especially they're important on things like your drop. So you see without that, it's like, I mean, it's cool, but it's not. It definitely adds impact. And you don't need a lot of it. Again, these are now, we're on to like the effects section. So like, remember how before in the mix, I was like, you want your drums to be a big part. You want your bass a little under it. This stuff's under all that. And sometimes I'll go through an EQ cut, the lows. Sometimes I don't. The main thing is this stuff's a lot lower in the mix, so it doesn't necessarily need to be like EQ'd a lot. Just turn it down. Remember the fader's your friend. And then I went through and I was like, okay, I like this big white noise, but maybe it would be cool to have some other effects in there. So these effects down here, this is actually just on one track. It'd be helpful for you guys to see what this started off as. So this started off as like this. Again, this is from Splice. And it's in F minor, 160 BPM. So we warped the BPM, or no, we didn't even warp the BPM. It doesn't matter. It's an effect. So this is the original track that I take this from. So it's just a bunch of like impacts. Super loud right now. But there's just impacts, there's risers, there's like a couple of these weird things. But anyway, so I chopped that up, and that's where you see all these. These are just different little pieces that I chopped up of this. And you'll hear like it just kind of helps. Little stuff like that. Here's another one. So yeah, adding little effects and stuff definitely helps. It'll help you with your build-up. It'll help you with your drops. It'll help you kind of create an atmosphere for your track around just different elements. You don't have to like keep adding elements. You can just have effects, and they kind of accentuate your elements. So I could add like another riser here, or I could just use the white noise along with this. Maybe put a cool little vocal chop in here, a vocal sample. And all of a sudden you have like a cool little drop section. So then something else you can do to change the chords a little bit. I went in here and I just changed the attack. So if you look again, more automation, guys. If you look to the pad. So for this section here, I changed the attack for the drop section so it doesn't come in as quick. So the attack is just how quickly the synth starts working, like gets to its max level. And you hear like this synth, it starts off low and kind of builds itself, and you'll be able to see it right here. So watch. See this? This is remember we talked about this? Low pass filter. So it's hooked up to this synth. The attack of this synth is like hooked up to this low pass filter. So when I hit the synth, see? The amount of the attack time is how fast this goes up. So during the drop section, I was like, oh, I don't want, like the synth, this little pad was cool for this section, but I was like, for the drop, I'm like, man, I think it'd be cool to mostly just focus on like the bass and the other elements and not really worry so much about the synth. So I turned the attack way down to 16 seconds. So now it takes 16 seconds for one of these to fully hit. And what ends up happening is they don't all get to the end. So you'll see. See how much slower it is now? So I just heard something. I think I went, when I was showing you guys removing mud, I think I went a little overboard. Oh, I guess not. Never mind. Maybe it's the high end. Turn the high end down a little bit. I'm using a shelf here to do this. Just a little bit. That's a little better. Yeah, it was just a little bit of weird like high end stuff. And I thought there was mud missing, but there isn't. Oh, it sounds good. See, that's effects. I did some stuff with the pad to show you guys how to like change up your sound. That way this pad here at the beginning isn't necessarily the same pad happening here. They're different. It's a variation of it. But that's a big key. So we've got the drums now. We got the bass. We got our little break. We added some cool effects and stuff. I showed you guys how to do the chords and how to build up a little bit of suspense and tension using chords. So you're probably wondering, how do we throw in like these other elements now? So, and the answer is just like a little bit at a time. You just kind of keep adding, every 8 bars or so. It's basically the same process. So after the drop hits, You notice it's the same for a little bit. 8 bars. You're gonna see the vocal come in now. It's me, I'm bringing the vocal in now. Okay, and now we're gonna bring in that bass synth a little bit. But not all the way, we're not doing the full pattern. I just cut a piece off here. And then cut a piece off of the next part. Oops, sorry. Now you see we bring in this little analog thing. The robot voice. Another little break. So notice how after these sections of like a lot of drums, I'm doing these little breaks, and it helps. It just helps add variation. So this part should sound familiar to you guys. This is the loop. Maybe more vocals. Maybe more vocals would be cool. Yeah, you see how I just started off with a pad, and then you just kind of add things, and then take a few things away. Add a few more things. Have it all playing at once. Add more things. Add more things. Add more stuff. Take it all away. Have just the vocals playing in the pad maybe. And then 2 minutes in, you're ready for your full loop. So your assignment this week is to do what I did here, the intro, the start, and a transition, a build-up. I don't really care about the drop section. We kind of already did that part. If you want to do what I did here, I kind of flesh it out, you can. But I really want to see the intro and the build-up. I want to see some effects. I want to see you using some risers. Just build the tension. Another thing we can do on this, I noticed there's not like a clap on this track at all. We have a snare. So maybe like adding a clap build would be really cool. So the way I would probably do that, I would just hit Command Shift T, make a new MIDI track, throw a drum rack on it. Oh, throw a drum rack on it, and then go find a clap. We're just gonna keep using the Remedy stuff because he's got great stuff. So many claps. Jeez, it's a lot of claps. I actually don't like any of them. Wow. That's the worst when that happens. It's so nice when you just go to something and you're like, ooh, I like that sound right away. Maybe we'll use Splice. Let's find a clap. Let's find a house clap. See, this is the cool thing about Splice is you can literally go in. And that's the thing. We're making house music right now. So this... I actually don't like these at all either. Wow. I just want a basic clap. How hard is that to find these days? But so that like the genre you're doing is going to have a big effect on what kind of your layout and your arrangement's going to be. So like for a house track, you notice it's kind of easy, honestly, because you're building it up sort of. But like for something else, maybe for like a dubstep or a drum and bass track, maybe you really don't have like a lot of drums at the beginning. You have just like this kind of ethereal intro. Maybe you have like a few little bass hits every once in a while, just to kind of fill out the space. But like nothing really happens until like maybe the pre-drop or you do like a little transition to a build and then a drop. So the reason I have drums coming in right away, and and it's that 4 on the floor, it's because I'm doing a house track. Like that's the style I'm working with. So because of that, it kind of informs me on what I'm doing next. And you know what? Instead, since I can't find a clap that I like, I'm just gonna use the 808 clap. The classic 808 hand clap that everybody loves and knows. See, I didn't even know this. There's now with Ableton, there's all these like new like presets you can add. So I can like add this lo-fi preset. Okay. I'm trying to hit the clap. Remove it. Or this hot one. Probably more effect on the bass. Anyway, it's pretty subtle, but it's kind of cool that they have these. They didn't have these when I first started using Ableton, so it's cool that they have these little quick presets. All right, so let's throw some claps in. It's so weird playing at 120. I'm so used to playing stuff at 140 and realize how weird it would be. But that's what quantize is for. We don't need to play it perfect. We just quantize it. And we got to go through and fix a couple of them, but that's okay. And let's go crazy at the end. So I'm going to hit 32. We're going to do some 30-second notes on the end here. And again, I'm just using that option. You hold option, you grab the thing, and you can make a bunch of them. So, and then this we can even like do something maybe cool with where it filters itself in. So maybe we don't even hear it that much right away. So something like that. And so we can write that. You can automate that very easily, like this. An automation. So, you get the point. Again, these drums, very simple, just building up the drums, then adding some claps, kind of build it up some more. So I want to see you guys do something like this. I even added a little bit of variation in the sub. On the second time around, you see. So that's another thing too, like little subtle variations. You don't have to rewrite the whole part, but go in and add a few little changes. Now this sub part's unique. I mean, this part isn't, but this part is. The second half of it's unique. So you never hear that again throughout the rest of the song. Stuff like that, it's kind of cool. And it makes, like, when this part drops, it makes it feel unique because you're like, oh, you know, it's a similar bass line, but it's not the exact same one. Your brain knows stuff like that. It's weird. It'll, like, pick out stuff like that. Or you won't notice it at all. Maybe I just notice it, but it drives me nuts. This is, you know, this is the house track we've been working on. We got our loop here towards the end. I have an OG loop. Showed you guys changing up the bass maybe a little bit, just changing up little parts here and there, how I changed the pad so the pad has a different feel. I want to talk a little bit now about like genre specific stuff. So I'm going to save Command S, big thing to do. Save all the time. Let's open up some of one of these project files here. This is a good one. We'll do London Gentleman. Open this bad boy up because I want to give you guys a different look. So we looked at the house vibe. Now I'm going to give you kind of like a more, I guess, experimental bass vibe, if that's what you're going for. The song is actually, it's actually at like a hip hop BPM. When I was making the drums, they're very like hip hop sounding. You'll hear it. But yeah, it's that's the thing that's cool with experimental bass and EDM in general, is that you can do actually a lot of things that are outside the norm of what everybody else is doing. Okay, so remember when I said you're going to have like big projects sometimes with like 40, 50 tracks? This one's got 66. So that's what I was talking about. But again, we're going to see the same basic thing. And the whole point of me showing you this is I just want to show you how like you can follow these basic principles and it gets you pretty far. So we have the start of the song here, and you're going to see this is pretty similar to the start of the other song. Turn down here on the speakers. Riser. Bass comes in, right? So is this not like the exact same thing I did last time? Synth, remember the little impact that I did in the first one? Little impact, synth first, and then what's next? The drums come in, drums, bass, right? Riser. So you see, it's. I'm showing you guys the ingredients because I want to show you how straightforward it is. It's not like a ton of stuff. And then remember how I was showing you guys the cabinet and the bit reduction before, like when we were going through all those. When we went through all the audio effects. Well, here it is again, and now it's in action. So now you can see exactly like how I'm using it. Down sampling a little bit, bit reduction. We got this speaker cabinet. Build. See the dry wet. Gentlemen. That's why this part of the song sounds like that. I'm sending it through this speaker cabinet and then downsampling it. I'm doing all these things to it. Remember how I said there's like a break in the last track, and then we do the build? So I should actually relabel this because this is.
Say no, it's good. Quite pungent. Oh yeah. It's a formidable scent. Stings the nostrils. In a good way.
So if you want to listen to the song, go listen to it. But I'm just showing the example because this is your homework assignment, is create something like this. A start, a little intro, maybe a little transition. Which in this case is not even a transition. It's just basically me bringing in another element. So just these are the things you got to think about, and you don't have to go crazy. You can do it very simple like I did in the last track, or you can, use all the 40 different tracks and change with the bit depth and the have it cabinet, just you can do weird stuff too if you want. for bonus points, but the main objective is I just want you to kind of build tension, create kind of a build up, create an intro, a start to a song, you know. Nothing too crazy. Just, again, start with your synth. Throw some drums in. Bring the bass in. Maybe bring another element in. Take everything out for a second. Just ideas. There's a lot of different ideas here. Find a cool vocal chop or record it yourself even, you know. So many different things you can do. So many different options. So I'm just going to go ahead and save this because I did change something. Let's open up another one. Let's just keep opening them up and seeing the same kind of thing. And I could open up other people's songs too, and I'll show. We'll do that after. How about that? So this is a new song I'm doing with my friend Bomber. Shout out to him. And again, you're gonna see the same kind of setup. And maybe it's because I'm using the same template, right? That's probably what you're saying. So after this, we'll check with other people. And maybe they're all using the same template too. Or maybe this just kind of formula works where every 8 bars or so, you're kind of changing something. And you start with one element and you just keep adding more. Maybe that just works. And that's what I'm trying to give you guys like a little, the sauce. So you don't have to sit there and try to figure this out forever. You can just, you already know it works. Oh, wow, look at this. We got a pad to start the song. What do you know? Drums came in. Whoa. Vocals.
I can't help but tell it how it is. If I take a day off, they all wondering where I went. I've been sick since the 6, always had a bitch. Never scared to hit a lick, never scared to take a trip. Never scared to run my lip, cause only ring is what I spit. Yeah, it's always been that way, because I never switch.
So I kind of went nuts with this, honestly. There's a whole verse going on. I added like all these different wubs and kind of weird sounds and textures in there. I didn't have to do that, but that, sometimes a song calls for it. So this song is almost like, it starts off, I just keep adding stuff. So again, you don't have to follow that every 8 bar thing like I was doing. You don't have to do that. You can do that. Like this song is a great example of, I think I added something new in every like 4 bars almost. So let me see. Besides the intro, which is just the hi-hat. So starting here, let's see. Got the vocal going on. We just brought drums and hats in.
If I take a sniff and hit a whip, I can't help but tell it how it is. If I take a day off, they all wondering where I went. I've been sick.
So we're gonna get into this later, but this is basically just a call and response. Super simple. Here's the call. Right here. That's the response. So, I mean, very simple. It sounded weird like that because there's a kick drum that's ducking it. But yeah, this is just a little call and response. We'll get into that next week though, or maybe it's the week after. One of these weeks we'll get into call and response. So this example is a little bit different, but again, I still start with the pad or the synth at the beginning. I still bring the drums in. I still kind of, if you look, I mean, it's still every 8 bars we're changing, or every 16. We're going from intro, then there's a little break. Remember the break before the build?
If I take a sniff and hit a whip, I'm about to dip, I take a sniff and hit a whip.
So this is the little break, and then what happens after this? The build. I bet you I'm changing like the pitch on this or something too. Or no, I guess not.
My mind about to dip, I take a sniff and hit a whip.
But yeah, so you get the point, and you hear the drums too. Building. We have some risers going on. There's like 3 different risers going on. You know what I'm saying? Like, experiment, have fun. do your own unique thing. That's kind of what this track is. It's a very unique track. This one is very unique. This is probably a bad example, but it's still a good example because you still see, even though it's a weird track and it's so unique, it's not at the same time. It's still the same basic formula of, okay, we start off with one thing, add another thing, and you just kind of keep adding things, and then boom, take everything away for a second. Maybe add, have the bass still play a little bit, and then boom, come back in. Now we have a whole new section because we stopped right here. Now we can add a whole new section, add some like extra drums, add some build-ups, add a little drum fill here, which is super sick. I'm a big fan of drum fills. Stuff like that. It really brings it all together. Yeah. So that's that one. Let's just keep going here. Or actually, no, I said I was going to open up somebody else's. So let's do that. Okay. So I told you guys I was going to show you in other people's songs. I can't show you their project files because I don't have them, but we can do the next best thing and look at the waveform, and we can also listen. So this is G-Type Star Rocket Tech. This is a drum and bass track that I just found the other day. And we'll see. Let's see if he kind of uses the same formula that I use. So I'm going to right away predict off the top. I haven't listened to this song yet today. There's going to be some sort of an impact, and then there's going to be a synth to start. I'm just going to call it out right now. Let's see what happens. Okay. It's like a white noise impact. I kind of like that. Oh, I hear a synth. So this would be like, that was the start. This is like the intro section, right, guys? So normally this is where I would bring in some drums, right around here. Oh, look at that. It's almost like I listened to this song right before we did this take. But it doesn't matter because he follows the same exact thing that I normally do. And look, oh, he's bringing in another element. Some what, respace maybe? Some low end. Some vocals, right guys? This looks like a drum build right here. It's about that time. So he didn't do the break. Notice that I did the break. He just went right into the build. So you can do that too. Drop. Right around what? A minute? Didn't I say that, guys? Right around the minute mark. So, I mean, I'm not just doing this stuff to be cool or to be like, follow these rules. You can break them. I mean, obviously he did a little bit. He didn't do a break. He just went straight into the build up. So you can do, make it your own, but you can follow these kind of guidelines essentially. And you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just follow the guidelines, start with like a little impact and a cool synth, and then just build it up from there. Just keep adding stuff. That's what this guy did. I guarantee you that's what this guy did when he was making this song. G-Type Star was just, he probably started maybe with the break here, like we did. Remember how we started with basically the drop section? He probably started with this, and then you just fill it in. It's not difficult. Once you have the main part of the song that you like, filling it in is the easy thing. I get so many homies that are like, oh man, I got this great drop, but I can't figure out how to fill it in. I'm like, dude, watch my series. Put a synth at the beginning with an impact and just keep adding stuff until you're close to where you want to be. Do a build up, do a break, do a build up, all right, let's do another one. So here's Spectre. This is another track that I just downloaded yesterday, so I haven't really listened to it, but let's see if he follows my guidelines, my rules. Impact. Synth, right? There's like some atmosphere synth going on. Riser. So he's taking the route of, okay, I'm going to bring in a little bit of my sub bass first. See what I mean, guys? You can change the things up a little bit, but kind of he's still following the same Every 8 bars, he's bringing in something new. Now there's a vocal. Now there's like a new synth. I hope you guys are seeing there's a pattern here. That all these, all these guys are doing this for a reason. It's not because, they're trying to be like everybody else. No, they're doing it because it works. This way to create music works. So he didn't even do a build up. This guy did no build up. So this guy was like, I don't feel like doing a build up. Cool. You don't have to. It works for this track because the drop for this track is kind of like chill, almost chill a little bit. So you don't need to hype something up a bunch if your drop is going to be like that. It doesn't make any sense. So this was smart. Again, you kind of have to like go for what your track is calling for. A lot of times when you start making a track, you'll notice like, oh man, this track really wants this or it really wants that, or, things like that. So yeah, I guess I could show you another one. This one's like a hip hop track. Let's see what they do. See if the hip hop track even follows my. Boom. Cool synth. Look at that. Some vocals coming in, right? Okay, this is kind of like a hip hop EDM track. It's not like, I wouldn't call this a normal hip hop track. With the bass going on, some drums. This looks like a build up, right? Little one.
I cannot be stopped, it's a state of mind. I'ma be your favorite rapper till I'm 89.
So, this is a rap. I mean, this is kind of an EDM-ish rap song, but they follow that same basic thing. Okay, here's another. This is another rap song. This is not an EDM rap song. This is a famous rap song. So maybe we shouldn't play this because it might get taken off YouTube. Okay, never mind. We're not doing that. I think you guys get the point though. Like, just start something. You don't have to like go crazy. Just, take your little loop. Maybe add like a synth if you don't have one. If you do have a synth, that's even better because then you can just use the synth that you already have in your loop and use that as your intro, and then bring some drums in. You don't even have to bring your full drums in. If you notice this track we just listened to, or was it State of Mind? He doesn't bring any like of his drums in until the drop happens. These drums are kind of like they're heavily filtered. He's got heavily filtered drums. Even these towards the end when it starts getting louder.
Cannot be stopped.
So drums, start with a synth, start with some drums, maybe throw a riser in there. I've showed you guys some examples of people that didn't do a build up in their track. If you can pull it off as good as Spectre, you don't have to do one, but I'd like to see one. I'd like to see at least something like he did, State of Mind did, or sorry, IMC did, where there's like a little bit of a build. It doesn't have to be like the one I made for the house track that's like kind of longer. It doesn't have to be like the one in Rocket Tech that is like pretty long too. You don't have to do this. This is just an idea. You know what I'm saying? So you don't have to do all these things. These are just, ideas. Let's look at a house track since we were working on a house track. We'll do one more of these and then do something else. Sounds like a synth. Oh, they got some vocals at the beginning. Okay. So this is another way to do it, but notice he still started with the synth, still kind of set the tone, then the vocal came in. He's got some keys now. So nice. Bring in another element. See that? And he actually took the vocal out and brought this in. So that kind of gives it a different... And he took the synth out. So again, these are different kind of effects you're going to get. When you pull instruments out, different feelings you can get. guarantee as the song goes on, he's going to keep adding more and more things. Every 8 bars. Every 8 bars, he's just going to keep adding things. So the whole point is of me telling you this is just so you understand it's not like a mystery. Now the vocal's back. So it's not a mystery of like how these guys are making these tracks. It's very, once you like understand like what it is to make a song and, you know, fill it out, you can listen to a song and be like, oh, he probably started with this loop and then recorded the vocals. He probably literally started with this. Recorded the vocals. And he's like, how can I get, what time of this? Look at that, right around a minute. It's almost like I can predict all this stuff. It's crazy. So right around the minute mark is when the first thing he started on, his original loop starts. And all this is just him just filling it in. This is the drums with just less stuff. Or sorry, this is just the bass. And then when he brings the drums in, it's just the kick drum. Almost like exactly like I did, just the kick drum. And this guy had a great vocal part in his song. So he said, you know what? Let me show off my awesome vocal part in the intro. It's genius. Why save this beautiful vocal for the minute mark when you can hook somebody into your song immediately with it? This is a really well written track by our buddy Thread here. Great job. But you see, it's nothing new. It's nothing like, mind bending or nothing like super crazy out of this world. It's the same formula that we were doing. It's just that he's got a great voice. So we're back in the DAW, back in Ableton. I just want to show you guys again the same ideas here. We got the chords to start, the impact, turn it up a little bit. We got the effects, the risers, everything going. And then of course it's house, so we have it all going through this side chain. I could probably actually side chain it a little harder. Drums come in, or hi-hats come in, and snare. Probably bring those down a little bit. The bass. Break section, right? Oh, I have an idea we can do with the clap too. Check this out. That's pretty cool. Just adding a little reverb, man. Reverb. Remember I said little things go a long way. Just a little reverb at the end there. We need a cool pre-drop is what we need for this. But that's the assignment, is just to do this. You don't even have to do all this section. You don't have to do that. This is extra credit. If you want to go through and do that, go for it. It's going to be more, we're going to talk more about drops next week, I think, or sound design. One of the two. We're doing one of those next week. This week is all about this part. I just want you guys to create a cool intro. And hopefully after like seeing all the different examples and kind of, seeing how I did this, just taking out the snare on this part, taking out the hi-hat completely and introducing the hi-hat 8 bars later, introducing the bass 8 bars after that, the little effects here and there, kind of bring it together. Yeah, go crazy. This is the fun part, man. Filling everything in is so much fun. Like making little loops is fun too. Don't get me wrong, I love making loops, but it gets boring after a while. What's really fun is when you make an entire song. And hopefully now you see it's not that difficult. It's mainly just a matter. I mean, I made a whole, this is a 3.5 minute long song. It could probably get cut down. Almost 4 minute long song. Could probably cut this down a little bit, but you get the point. You know, this is probably, you know, it's just basically just me copy and pasting certain parts here and there, taking out things, adding things in, but like sparsely. So have this synth comes in very sparsely at first. Right? Even this analog thing, I have it coming in just a little bit at first. And then it comes in. This is the original drop, or the original loop we did. Remember, guys? So, yeah. It's very, very easy. But then again, you can do a lot to it. You can make it like super complex. You can, remember how I had all the, I was like down sampling and using the cabinet and stuff and parts. Like you can do so much. But also, you could just copy and paste a few things, and boom! Now you just turned a loop into a song. The main part that we need to do though for your homework is the start, the intro, little transition, or it doesn't even have to be a transition. Just bring something else in. The break, the build. I'm gonna send you guys this template, so you'll have all of these. And like you heard in the examples today, like you don't have to follow this exactly. I don't even follow this. There's no transition here. I'm just bringing a bass. So I'm not even following this. I'm bringing in a bass. That's it. I don't know if I'd call that a transition. But you get the idea. You know what I'm saying? Like every 8 bars, I'm doing something new. I'm changing it up. If you want to do like some of the songs we saw when we opened up Record Box, you can do that too. But the main idea is just make a cool intro. You'll know when it's cool. And if you're struggling, the tried and tested and true methods of just starting with a synth, adding some drums, adding another element, doing a break, doing a build. This is tried and true. It works. I promise. There's a reason I do it. I don't do it just because everyone else is doing it. I do it because it works. I think I broke this actually. Shoot. It's no good. No, is this ruined now? Oh no. I messed up my thing. There it is. Okay. Thank God for Command Z. I've done things like that so many times. Just being able to undo is such a big deal. Yeah. So you guys got your assignment now, and I'm looking forward to hearing what you guys do. This is the fun part. Like I said, this is making loops is cool, but filling it in, doing little chords. Hopefully I showed you guys how to write the chords good. I just played them out, but you can always just draw them in, and then you can look chords up. You don't have to know them. As far as like your bass lines and stuff, just keep it simple. You don't have to go crazy. I'm just following the kick drum, and then every once in a while I play an offbeat. You know, you don't have to go too crazy. For build-ups, like snare build-ups, clap build-ups, usually I just go by 16th. I'll start with quarter notes. So on every count, just following the kick drum. And then you go to 8th notes for a couple, and then you go to 16th. And then right at the end, you go like really fast, 30-second notes. if you want, or you can just, you know, do a little bit of a, you know, different build. You can do different rhythms. Just the main thing to think about is you want to add tension. So try to add some sort of a rhythm with some tension maybe. This has tension because there's no snare. So if you just hear this, you're like, what's going on? What happened to the snare? So there's already like kind of some tension building. Now the keyboard's doing, you know, the pad's building tension. We got the risers going. Got this thing going. Oh man, I got to redo the reverb again. What a bummer. Because that's what I was doing when I messed this up. I was recording reverb onto this snare, or on this clap. Let's do it again. Recording automation. Man, I think it's even better the second time. It's great. But you see, like, once you find something you like, if you accidentally delete it or something, you're gonna be like, "Oh man, I want to do that again." So that's a good indicator that that's a good idea that I did. All right, guys. So that was week 4. You got your assignment. I want you guys to create a start, an intro, and a build up for your loop or any track. But yeah, we went over everything today. I think you need to know to do that. Remember the tried and true method. Start with a pad or a synth, add some drums, build up from there. Every 8 bars, add something new. It's that easy. That's week 4 though. So yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing you guys' stuff, and I'll see you next week.